Happy learning. In this video lecture, we are going to discuss Java methods. Methods in Java. So we call it as function. What do you mean by methods? A block of code. A block of code which only runs when it is called. That is called block of code. Block of code which only runs when it is called. When it is called. This is called function. When it can be, so you can pass data known as parameter. So some of the terms with respect to method. So method in the sense some set of code, set of instruction which runs only when it is called. So here we have that particular set of statement used to perform certain actions or task. So we call it as function. So that block of code is assigned to do some specific activities, specific function. So based on that, it will perform. Whenever we need that particular task to be done, so we have to call that particular method. So that block of code will be executed only when it is called. Then another thing is you can pass data known as parameters into methods. We call it as parameters. So parameters are nothing but the data we are going to pass to that particular function. We are going to pass some data to that particular function to perform some activity. So what are the advantages of using method? So first one is code reusability, then code optimization. The repeated set of statement, if you want to execute, you can call that particular method more than once. So that is the advantage. Code reusability, then code optimization. So advantages of using Java method is code reusability, code optimization. The same set of code, if you want to make use of that code repeatedly, then you can call that particular method again and again. You can call a particular method more than once. The first one is how to create method. Now we are going to create a method or function. So how to create method? General syntax. Syntax to create method. The general syntax is you have to define access specifier, then a return type, then return type, access specifier, then third one is name of the method, method name, then parameter list. Here you have to specify parameter list. Whenever we are creating method, after method name we have to specify parenthesis. Here parameters list of parameters. That means list of data we are going to send to that particular method. Then open curly bracket, close curly bracket. In between you can specify set of statement, block of code. So this is the general syntax. So we have to specify access specifier, return type, method name and parameter list. So what do you mean by that access specifier? Now I'll give you one simple example. So I am going to create a method called addition. I am going to add two numbers. Now or otherwise I am going to display some value. So what I am going to do, I am going to create. Okay, I am going to create method return type is void. Okay, return type is void. So now void, that is return type, then method name is display method, display, otherwise we'll use display method, open curly bracket, close curly bracket. That's all. I am going to display. So to display something, we have that function system dot out dot println. Okay, I am going to print name of the some information, welcome. Okay, I'm going to display this message. This is the simple method. So method creation, I have created a method name called display. Okay, without argument, there is no parameters. I'm not going to pass any value. So this is void. Void in the sense it will not return any value. So after executing this set of statement, this function, it will not return anything. Now this is the simple method creation. So method name followed by open bracket and close bracket. It is parenthesis. Now after creating a method, if you want to execute that particular set of statement, you have to call that method. This is method call. Method call. Method call. What is the general syntax? Method name, then open bracket, close bracket, semicolon. This is method call. Now if you want to call this display method, you have to use display, open bracket, close bracket. Okay, open bracket, close bracket. This is method name. Display, open bracket, close bracket. This is method name, method call. Then that is method create a method. How to create a method, then how to call that particular method. So whenever there are types of methods, there are two types of method. Types of methods, Java methods. There are two types of methods. One is called predefined method. Predefined method. Predefined method. Another one is user-defined method. User-defined method. So predefined method, user-defined method. So what do you mean by predefined method? What do you mean by user-defined method? So predefined method in the sense, already we have some built-in method or standard library. This predefined method is called built-in method, built-in or standard library functions. It is already defined. So we can make use of those library function. We can make use of that built-in function. Then user defined in the sense custom created. That is custom method. That means user can create. This is already predefined built-in methods or standard library functions that are available in a particular package. Then you can access those methods. Example, system.out.println. In that, this is the general, when we look into this, I have created a class name called Hello World, class name. So we all familiar with how to create a class in Java with the keyword class name, open curly bracket, close curly bracket. Inside that we have main method. So main method is the starting point of the execution. Main method with parameter string argument, then system.out.println hello world. In this code, main is a built-in method. Println is also a method, built-in method. This print is available in system.out package. System is the main package, then out is the sub package, then println. Here main is a method. It's a predefined method or built-in method. Void is return type. This is access specifier. Public is the access specifier, that is modifier. Generally, access modifier, there are four types of access modifier: public, private, protected. We have here, this is the general syntax. We have to, if you are not specifying, it will take default access specifier. So it will no need to specify access specifier, return type and method name. Here, if it is predefined method, so here access specifier. There are four types of access specifier. That is, we call it as modifier, access modifier. That is, one is public access specifier. So access specifier in the sense, what are all the control towards that particular data? What is the accessibility of that particular data within an application? So in the entire application, how we are going to access those variables? There are four types of access specifier: public, protected, then third one is private, then fourth one is default. What do you mean by public access specifier? That particular method or variable, if you declare that method as public, that particular method is accessible within the same package, all the classes within the same package. If it is protected, that particular method can be accessed with the parent class as well as child class, superclass and subclass. If it is private, that particular specifier, access specifier, if you are specifying as private, so what will happen? It will be accessed within the class in which it is defined. Okay, if it is public, all classes in your application. If it is default, without using any modifier, if you are not specifying any modifier, that means it's default. Without using any modifier, automatically it is default within the same class and package within which it is defined, within the same package. Public means you can access from one package to another package all the classes. That means entire application. Okay, so this is public, protected, private and default. Now what I am going to do, I am going to create a method called here. We are going to create a method. Whenever we are creating method, that method should be inside class. The method should be inside class. Now I am going to create one method. So whenever we are talking about method, there are two things you should consider. The two ways to create method. One is two ways to create method. One is instance method. Second one is static method. So instance method, static method. What about instant? What do you mean by instant method? So instance in the sense, you can access those values within the same, that is you have to create object for that particular class, then you have to access that particular value. That is instance. If it is static in the sense, you can access those values with the help of class name. So that means access the static data using class name. So here access static data using class name. This is access instance data using object of that particular class. Access instance data using object name. Okay, so we will see this one with example. So here instance in the sense, we are not supposed to use static keyword along with the method. So here, if you now I am going to create static method. So whenever we are going to create static method, access specifier is public static, then return type is void, display, name of the method is display. I am not going to pass any value, so without parameter, function with parameter, without parameter. Okay, there are two types of function with parameter, without parameter. Here I am going to create function with parameter, without parameter. I'm not going to pass any value to the function. Here this is display function. I'm going to display function. Okay, this is display function. This is static. This method is static method. So whenever we are creating static method, you can access the static data using class name. What is the name of the class? This is hello world. So directly you can, no need to create object. So directly you can access. How will you access? That is code. This is method. Method creation. We have created method. Next one is method call. I am going to call that method name, parenthesis, then semicolon. Now if you run this program, cannot find symbol, sorry. It is inside public static display. So here I have to call display method, not inside main. Main is a method. Okay. So I am calling one more method. This is built-in or predefined or standard library method. This is user defined. Now if you run this program, display method, display static void. So it is correct, static void. Any open bracket, close bracket, I can check. It's displaying. Okay. So now if you see here, system.out.println hello world. So we are calling that particular function display function inside main method. So public static void display, this is the static method. So if it is static method, no need to create object. We can directly call that method. Now next one is instance method. So instance method in the sense method is not static. Okay. So what I am going to do, I am going to create one more method, public. It will not return any value. So display one. Here I am going to create, this is display function static method, method. So this is display function instance method. So if you are trying to access this display one, before that, so if you run this program, the program will work fine, because here we have created two methods. So if you want to execute that particular method, you have to call that method. I have called method, that display method, it is displaying. Now I want to display one method. So you have to call that particular method. So if you call display one, it will give you error. Why? Because this is instance method. You cannot call non-static method. Display one is non-static method. So you cannot be referred from a static context. You can't call directly with class name. Now what we have to do, we are going to create object for this class. So what is the name of the class? Hello world. So how to create object? Class name. Then you have to create object 1, obj1. Obj1 is equal to new class name, open bracket, close bracket. I have created object obj1. Then through object I can access. Now it is working fine. Previously it didn't work. You can't. If it is static method, you can call directly because it is inside this class. Directly you can call. That is class. Static, access the static data using class name. So here this is not static method. This is instance method. That instance, in the sense you have to create object for that particular class. Through the object you can access. Okay, now it is working. So what is the advantages of using function? You can call the same method repeatedly. That means more than one. You can call the same method more than one. Here I have called display. Again, if I want to display the same thing, no need to write code again. Then again I have to call display again. If you run 2 times, it will display. Display. So name you have to change. Okay. Display. See, display function static method, display function, because 2 times I have called. This is first time. This is second time. I have called second time. If I call the same code third time, this one will work. Third time if I call display, third time. Display function static method 2 times. If I call one more time, that is third time. 3 times it will display. Then display function, for instance, I have called only once. This is first time. I call display 1. First time. If I call second time, object dot, again that through object 1 dot display 1. Okay, this is second time. Like that we can call n number of time. That is code reusability. So optimized code, in the sense no need to write code again and again. It will increase the code size. Here display function instance, display function instance. This is with respect to method. That is predefined method, user defined method. Here we have created method without argument. Now if you want to pass some value to that particular function, the same display function. Now I want to send some data to that particular function. So how to do that one? Static void display. Here, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass some value to that particular function. So what is the data type of the parameter list? In the sense you can pass more than one value. Here I am going to pass one string value. So data type is string. Then you can specify variable name, string, and name 1. This is the variable name. So I am going to pass string value. So while calling that particular display method, here we have to pass string value. So string value hello. Whenever we are calling, we have to pass string value. So hello, then next one is hi, 2 values. So here I want to display the same function. Okay, so what I can do, that value I can display system.out.println. I am going to display the value. What is that variable? Name 1. So if you run this program now, while calling, you should not call without argument, because this function with single argument, single parameter, so that is, it has data type of string, that is string data type. Okay, so you have to specify that string value. So method parameter, we call it information can be passed to method, that is called parameter. So here name one, we are going to display. Here display of, if without parameter, we'll see it later. Display hello, display hi, two things. Two times I am calling this function. One time I am calling, first time with value hello. If you run this program, see the difference between previous one and now. What is the changes? What are all the changes we have done? So here hello world, it will display hello world first because system.out.println. After that I am calling this display function with single argument hello. So after passing, while passing this value will be stored in this parameter name one. Then that name one we are displaying, hello is displaying. Again if I call the same method display with some other value, we can change the value, display hi. If I run this second time calling the same function with different values, different arguments. So the argument in the sense value we are passing. First it is displaying hello, display function static method, then hi, display function static method. So third time, suppose if you are calling that function without parameter, because this is with parameter this function, if you run this program, it will give you error. Why? Because that function with single argument, we have created a function with single argument. While calling that function, see, error, method display in class hello world cannot be applied to given type because required string, found no argument, because that is actually we have one parameter. Actual and formal argument list differ in length. So here 1, but here nothing is there. So it should match. Then one more thing. Now if I give argument, string argument, help. Now if you run this program, this one will work. This is with respect to function with argument. The next one is function without argument. We have already explained without argument. You can pass more than one value to a function. That means more than one parameter. While defining, I can pass two more values. So two more values in the sense, here I can pass integer value, int a, int b. Okay, int a, int b. I am going to pass one integer value, only one. Okay, one value I am going to pass. Here, while calling that function, you have to pass one integer value. Here I can pass 9. Then here I can display the value. I can display the value as what is that value will be stored in A. Then next, if I want to, if you run this program, what will be the output? It will display the name and the next one is that value, integer value. Both will be displayed. So here we have one string argument, then another one is string parameter, another one is integer parameter. So two values I am passing. So if you pass these two values, this one will work. Okay. Then after this, if you run this program, it is working. It's executing. Then I will now, we will discuss if your function without, if you return type is void, it will not return anything. Suppose if you want to return some value to the main function, so after executing, if you want to return something from the main function, why it is error? If it is, if you want to run, if you want something to be returned, string int, list differs in actual parameters. Wait a minute. Here, here in this, we didn't specify anything. Okay, I'll give 10. If you run this, 3 times we are calling display function. Okay, hello 5, hi 9, help 10. So 3 times I have called. So here when you consider this function with return type void, that means the function will not return anything. From this function, after executing something, we are not returning anything to the function. See here, we are not returning anything. Just we are executing these three set of statements. Void means function will not return anything. It will execute and it will display. So here, if you want to return something, if you see here, see hello world 5 display function, hi 9 display function, static method, help 10 display function. It is working fine. Now what we are going to do, I want to return some values. The same program, if you want to add two numbers, I want to add two numbers. So what I am going to do, I am going to change this function name as addition, add. So if you want to add two numbers, I have to pass two integer value, int a, int b. So int b, int a. Here void add. So I am going to add two numbers. So here what I can do, I can have one variable called c. Then I am going to store that value c is equal to b plus a or a plus b plus a. Okay. After calculating this value, then I am going to display this function. Okay, I am going to display that value using function. So I am passing that value void add int a comma b. Then while calling that particular function, so I have to use function name, have to pass two values 5 comma 5. So now if you run this program, it will add two numbers and it will display. Here I am calling that function add 5 comma 5. So after adding these 5 plus 5, that 5 value will be stored in B. The next value 5 will be stored in A. So 5 plus 5 is equal to 10. It will be stored in variable C. Then system.out.println of C. So it will display 10. Now, so the next one is, this is function. It will not return any value. It will not return any value to main function. Here if you see 10, value is 10. If you change, now I want to return some value to the function. I want to, here also, if you don't want to give directly value, int a comma int number 1 comma number 2. Then I can assign number 1 is equal to 10, number 1 is equal to 5, then number 2 is equal to 5. Here while passing, I can, both are integer. Okay, it should map number 1 comma number 2. So both are integer variable. Now after executing that value should be returned. I don't want to display the value inside the function. So I want to return that value. So I have to make this as int. So after adding these two values, that value should be returned to the main function. So return type void means function will not return anything. Here at the end you have to use return keyword, return C. Which value we are going to return? Return C. So after adding these two values, I am going to return that value. Here directly you can have one more variable, result, int result. That is integer value. It will return. So while calling, it will call that particular function. After calling, then it will display the value, result. So while calling add number 1, number 2, it will return that value. That is 5 plus 5, 10. That value will be stored in result. Then using system.out.println, I can display the value. That is result. Okay. That is result. Now if you run this program, what will happen? See 10. Display static method 10, it is displaying. This is return type. It will return some values. The same thing, instead of C, directly here you can give A plus B plus A or A plus B, B plus A. Instead of storing it in intermediate value, you can give return B plus A. Here also, instead of using one variable, you can directly call that particular method inside that system.out.println. Directly you can call this method inside this. See, add. This also will work. Directly you can give add number 1, number 2. So after returning that value, this function will return that value, then it will display. The same result will be displayed here. So this is function with return type. The function will return value. Here we are returning integer value. Then you can pass more than one value. String data type, integer, primitive data type, string, integer. You can pass arrays also. You can pass arrays to a method. So you can pass values. So these are all the example with respect to function. Function, there are two types of function. What is function? It's a block of code which only runs when it is called. That is function. So whenever we are talking about function, there are two types of function. One is function with argument, two types of function, predefined function and built-in function. So predefined function or built-in function. The second one is user-defined function. So how to create user-defined function? So create means the syntax, right? Access specifier, syntax. This is access specifier. Then return type, method name, parameter list. Then we have discussed what is function with parameter and without parameter. Then two ways to create function is instance, a method, then static. So instance means access instance data using object name. You have to create object, then through object you have to access. Then one more thing is static. Static in the sense you using class name directly, without no need to create object, directly you can access those values. This is simple example. Addition of two numbers we have already discussed. Then one more thing is, if you look into this example, this is predefined. This is predefined built-in method. Here if I use this display function inside display function, just system.out.println, here math.square root. That means math is already, that square root is already predefined function available in Java. It is in math package class math.square root. You have to access math.square root of 4. And if you run this now, this is example for built-in. Square root of 4 is 2. Okay, square root of 4 is 2. So if you are changing this 4 to 9, this is example for predefined function. See, now it is showing 3. Square root of, because here we have given 4, if that is display 9. Okay, square root of 9 is 3. Square root of 9 is 3. Then after that, if you want to display one, this is simple program for minimum maximum. Okay, function to find out minimum and maximum. So this is example. If you see here, public static int, this is static function without object you can call. Name of the function is minimum function. We are passing n1 and n2. Here we are checking if n1 greater than n2, minimum n2, else minimum n1. Then we are returning that value to the main function. This is simple example. Return the minimum of two numbers. Okay, this is example for minimum. You can try with maximum also. Thank you.